Nightmare, nightmare, nightmare.
The whitest of them all!
Sex.
It's in hell. What did you expect?
I want to make something completely clear before this video starts. This review isn't any sort of attack on any creators of the show or the fans. It's just my honest thoughts about Hazbin Hotel's biggest problems as a show and as a story. I'm not going to talk about any of the claims and rumors of behind-the-scenes incidents. I will only talk about what I've seen on screen in the show. This discludes any wiki content, so if I'm confused about any of the story elements and you say, oh, read the wiki, no. I'm talking about what I saw on screen and that's it. Hi, I'm Violet. I'm a guy who's currently an art student with a passion for animation and storytelling. And though my studies focus on anatomical art and I'd love to draw for an educational and health settings, I've always wanted to tell a story of my own, preferably in the form of animation. I love writing stories and I understand the passion that comes with writing. I'm coming at this with the perspective of someone who's not in the industry, but someone who wants to see animation succeed and who understands how hard it is to make a dream come to life. Though I do tend to focus on the negatives, the approach to this critique is to be as sincere and honest about my opinions as possible, and most importantly, being fair and giving the show credit where it deserves. However, I do focus on a lot of the negative things, but that's because I feel so passionate about it. This show had so much potential, and I think that it very much dropped the ball on all of the ideas it presented. Though this video may be long, I promise I have reason for it. I initially wanted it to be 20 minutes long, and the Google Doc file name is actually called Hazbin Hotel Mini Review. If this is a mini review, I wonder what a regular size review is. Anyway, bit of context. I am not active in the Hazbin Hotel fandom. I didn't really like the pilot, outside of like Charlie as a character, I guess, but I wanted to give the show a fair shot. I want there to be more good animated shows for older audiences. And I wanted to be surprised and end up loving it. I wanted to see what other people saw in it. The concept of the redemption of sin and the idea of what can be classified as a sin and how that perception changes from person to person is such an intriguing idea. I cannot understate how much I love that idea. However, this show completely abandons that idea. Hazbin Hotel is a tonally confused and erratically paced mess that uses these aesthetics from mostly like Christianity and a little bit of Judaism without any thought as to how they'd play with each other. And on top of that, it straight up feels like a show made for children that just happens to have like sexual content, violence, and cursing. I'm not opposed to childish humor. I'm not opposed to violence or like, aha, there's a dick joke or he said the fuck word, funny. But everything must be done in moderation. The tone of this show feels like that of a children's show, and the most noticeable aspect of this is with the musical scoring as well as the sound effects. Not the songs that the characters sing, well, like some of them, but the instrumental background music. Take a listen to these two scenes and note the scoring and the musical sound effects.
Alright, get on up here.
The scene is intentionally childish and emphasizes Charlie's rather immature character, and it ends up emphasizing how silly and naive this situation is. Now listen to the language and the music in this next scene and guess what Charlie's complaining about.
3 years! 3 years I've been sharing my life with her, and I tell her everything. My hopes, my dreams, my insecurities, my embarrassing habits, what fucking deodorant I like. And she keeps something like this from me?
It must be something overblown and innocuous, right? Charlie's tone of voice, the little flute sound, and these nonchalant strings give the feeling that she's overreacting. So, what is she overreacting about?
You were on the front lines. I wouldn't forget a bad bitch like you
It's why I named you after the best thing ever, Vaggie.
Charlie is having a breakdown over her girlfriend having been an active participant in the genocide of hell, and yet the show's scoring and sound effects portray her as being hysterical and overreactive, completely downplaying her very valid feelings. And it's not just Charlie who scored like this. Though other characters have other instruments representing them, as so many other shows do, all of this background scoring has this levity to it that downplays any situation by making everything feel silly. It's not just in music and sound effects, but language and over-exaggerated actions.
Well, looks like you have everything under control here.
Of course I do. Fuck you. Now shoo. Take care of the piss baby.
These two characters are set up to be villains, but they're treated as being rather goofy and unintimidating. Though perhaps this is building up for the third member of their group to be the big bad, right?
Fucking finally! Kitty, another drink! Can you believe what that piece of shit did? The ungrateful whore!
Which whore are we talking about this time?
Fucking angel dust! Who the hell else would I be talking about?
So our first introduction to Valentino, he's goofy, overreactive, and childish. So are these three characters going to be these lighthearted and quirky villains? And it leads to the angels being the big bad?
I own you, or have you forgotten that?
No.
Spoiler alert, but Valentino is a slave-owning, abusive rapist pimp. I hate it here. This initial characterization sets Valentino up as being way too goofy and trivial of a villain, and then in the fourth episode, he is a completely different character, no longer throwing these over-the-top outbursts. It's like the writers couldn't decide if he was supposed to be a joke antagonist or someone who's downright evil. And then in episode 6, the action, sound effects, jokes, and overall tone goes back to framing Valentino as this lighter antagonist. The tone is confused and keeps flip-flopping back and forth.
Holy shit, angel dust. What are you doing here, baby? You didn't get enough dick today? Who's this Chiquita? You bringing me fresh meat? Oi!
I just want to taste.
So the greater context to the scene will be addressed later, but that guy in the top hat, Angel Dust's abusive slave master pimp, these vibes feel like he's Angel's rival, and the joke undercuts how serious of a threat he is. I would love to keep showing examples, but we're gonna be here all day. I haven't seen my wife and kids in 30 years. God, please help me. Please help free me from this.
I understand that the intent of the show is that Charlie is supposed to be this Disney princess in hell, but for every character to have this whimsical scoring kind of undercuts this contrast. It gives the entire show the vibe that it's lighthearted and childish, even when it's trying to be serious, and completely destroys any attempt at being serious. And the scoring reminds me of My Little Pony of all things, and
It's soon! Pardon me? You said we should have another party soon, and it's soon!
does not work here. It works with scenes like the bit in the second episode where each character is like introducing themselves to get to know each other, and Charlie is treating the characters kind of childishly, like a camp counselor or like an elementary school teacher. It's cute, and it's meant to have this childish tone. But for the entire show to be scored like this, alongside this constant cursing, violence, sexual content, discussions of abuse, makes me feel like this is like an edgy YouTube parody of a kids show, not something that was like trying to be mature and adult. When you have a scene like Husk calling out everyone's flaws, but like, what even is Charlie's problem that she doesn't want to solve?
What does Husk know that we haven't seen?
This whole thing is framed with such childish language.
Everyone likes to bitch to the bartender. I know everything about you and these motherfuckers at this point. That one is an insecure buffoon whose lonely ass watches you idiots sleep. Princess is a bleeding heart who wants to solve everybody else's problems except her own. This one judges everyone and everything because she hates herself. Nifty? Yeah. You don't even want to know what her deal is. is.
You take out all the swearing, and it's a conflict that would be in a kid's show. Sir Pentious is insecure, Charlie wants to help everyone but herself, Vaggie, God, I hate that name, judges everyone because she hates herself, and Angel is like putting up a facade. It's such shallow characterization and explanations, and we never saw Husk even interacting with these characters for him to discern these personality traits from them. So from the beginning, this scene is just bad. I can't say it other than bad. The fourth episode is quite possibly the worst of the series in many ways, but especially in tone. When Charlie goes to confront Valentino and tell him about the hotel, she ends up screwing everything up in this like slapsticky way, and it's flared by these like flute sounds. And it's a classic, oh, character screws something up moment, and these whimsical undertones of the scene give it a goofy and lighthearted nature. You see it in like a million cartoons.
I am so sorry. I ruined your movie. Oh my god, I'm sorry.
Next scene, there's a music video of Angel Dust's sex work interspliced with him being horrifically raped and abused by Valentino. Hey, this is editing me. I was wrong. The next scene isn't the music video of Angel getting abused. It's just him getting abused. And then there's a music video. It's such tonal whiplash. The scene directly afterwards, Angel is back at the hotel and he gets into a fight with Husk over getting some alcohol to recover and forget the abuse.
I said a strong one.
Cue the, I think they're flutes. I don't know, it's a wind instrument. This dude is trying to drink to forget being assaulted, and it feels like a goof. The end of the episode even has Charlie run and embrace Angel, and she's giving these over-the-top apologies with the hug being emphasized by a squeaky toy noise.
I'm so sorry, Angel. I promise I won't ever
Charlie.
This is something that wouldn't be out of place in My Little Pony. They've even used like squeaky toy noises in that show. This over-the-top reaction from Charlie apologizing for busting up Valentino's studio, which directly led to Angel getting further abused, is distracting, it's jarring, it's completely inappropriate. How am I supposed to take the serious scenes in this show seriously if they're treated so flippantly? They're trying to tackle the underlooked and absolutely harrowing reality of male victims of sexual abuse and as well as abuse within the adult film industry, but the jokes in the music video undercut it and treat it as a joke. This tonal dissonance comes to a head in episode 6, where Sir Pentious is trying to flirt with Cherry Bomb, and he's been at it all evening and he buys her a shot.
Because I bought everyone another shot! Hooray!
It's like kind of cute. I really like Sir Pentious, even though I think like Cherry should have been established earlier and this crush should have been built up. But Sir Pentious is like a fun character. I can forgive that. He later notices that there's these rooms where people can have privacy and be intimate, and he asks Cherry if she'd like to be intimate with him.
Because I'm having sex with everyone here!
He gets dragged off, clawing at the floor, crying out, and saying no. He is being pulled off against his will to a room for a bunch of other partygoers to have sex with him against his will. Do you know what having sex against one's will is? And I forgot to mention, the episode starts off with this joke.
You look messy. What happened to you?
It's who happened to me. And the answer is everyone. Twice. Val had me working 16 hours straight on a fucking whim. The absolute dickbag. Ugh.
2 episodes, wasn't it revealed that Angel Dust is Valentino's sex slave and is horrifically abused by him by nature of selling his soul to Valentino? None of what Angel is doing in the studio is consensual. He is a sex slave. So why are we making jokes like Angel works a 9 to 5 in some office building? Why is this treated as a joke? 2 episodes ago, it was treated seriously. Angel has a very realistic breakdown over his whole situation. He self-harms by taking excessive drugs and putting himself into situations where others can take advantage of him. And this breakdown that he has, I actually thought it was well written. I kind of felt a little a tightness in my chest. So why are we making light of this? You can't have goofy wacky, haha, I spent 16 hours filling pornos and wait, no, I don't want to have sex with everyone actually jokes while having had an entire episode of one of these characters being sexually abused. It's not even oh, we're taking Angel's abuse seriously, but Sir Pentious is the joke character, so he's getting dunked on. Because the episode is also making a joke about Angel Dust.
But I need a drink after today. You know, Val, he's into this waterboarding shit now. I don't know, it's a kink.
What? What the fuck?
So I guess I should also touch on poison, but I really don't want to. I'm literally in a Discord call with my friends because I need the emotional support, so I'm just gonna speedrun this shit. Poison is a softcore rape porn music video, from the framing, to the pop song style, to the colors. And it leers on these sexual acts in the same way a porno would do it, with these close-up shots of Angel's open mouth, him getting pounded by Valentino, and it gazes on his body like it's something to be lusted over. It's trying to be the music video Me, 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 but it misunderstands why that music video works. This music video also leers on these heavily sexualized bodies, but these bodies aren't the bodies of a literal sex slave. They're manifestations of the quote-unquote protagonist's isolated lifestyle. It's actually a very deep music video if you understand the symbolism behind it. He replaced his girlfriend with fiction and now lusts over idols and self-indulgent media, which is leading to his self-induced destruction. Angel Dust, however, is a character in the narrative who is actively being abused. Nothing he's doing here is consensual due to the contract, no matter how much he's smiling.
'Cause I know you're poison, you're feeding me poison, addicted to this feeling I can't help but swallow.
This is directly contradicting Angel's situation. If Angel was not contractually bound, this would be one thing. Let's say he's just in an abusive relationship, but there's no magic demon contract tying him back to Valentino. He would just be caught up in the highs and lows of abuse, and the highs get him coming back. It'd be one thing if he feasibly could back out of the choice, but he quite literally cannot. He sold his soul to Valentino. The situation is not, ooh, this big sexy Mothman treats me wrong, but I can't get enough of him. I'm addicted, ooh. No matter how much the song is trying to push that message. The song is terrible because the lyrics are written and the music video is shot and choreographed as if Angel is only addicted to his relationship with Valentino and can back out of it, but in reality, he's forced into this, does not like it at all, cannot say no, and ends up coping with drug abuse. The visuals treat Angel Dust in the same way as the idol girls in Me, Me, Me. I think they even reference the pose in a couple frames, or maybe I'm going crazy, I don't know. These close-up shots of Angel having sex are one layer of obscurity away from just being hentai. The camera leers on his open mouth and his gasping tongue, this hitch in his throat as Valentino leans in to bite him, how he's being tossed around in the porn studio. Angel Dust, as he's partaking in, may I remind you, non-consensual pornography shoots, is centered as a thing for the viewer to lust over, that his abuse is sexy and is sexually gratifying for the viewers. If the show wanted to portray the harrowing details of abuse, it would not be framed like this. It wouldn't have a pop song being played over flashy visuals, with characters dancing in front of more visuals of abuse. This framing directly associates this pleasing, fun pop song and dancing with this non-consensual sex in the background. In isolation, if, say, the scene were played with just the sound effects, like maybe with Angel grunting in pain and nearly crying, it could work as something that focuses on Angel's pain, as something to be empathized with, rather than objectified. In the anime Devilman Crybaby, there's a character named Miki Kuroda, nicknamed Miko, who's an up-and-coming track star high schooler, and she ends up doing a sexy photo shoot.
And during this photo shoot, she ends up getting taken advantage of, and she's assaulted. It is a very upsetting scene, and she later pleasures herself to this memory. And it's a way to cope. And we are not supposed to find it sexy, and we're not supposed to leer on it, and the show portrays that perfectly. And the fact that with the sound effects, she's not, like, moaning or anything, she's making donkey noises during the sequence. It is meant to be uncomfortable and upsetting. And then look back at Poison. It's flashy, sensationalized, and focuses on Angel as a sex object rather than a victim. Up until possibly the end visuals where he's starting to spiral. If it was consensual, rough sex, that would be fine, just a bit uncomfortable to watch with your friends, but knowing the context, it is just animated rape porn. And do not get me started on Loser Baby. I understand the intent of the song. I think the line of thinking was that Husk is singing to Angel that he's not alone in his suffering, and other people are hurting as well, I guess. But then I look at the lyrics and see how horribly botched that idea is, to the point that the song comes across as Husk telling Angel that he's a loser for being a victim of rape and abuse. The song on its own is one thing, but it's prefaced by this rant. Just watch this and then listen to the excerpt of the song.
That fucker put something in your drink.
You don't think I can tell if someone spikes my drink? I do this all the fucking time. You think I ask for it?
Really? Because I just saw someone self-destructing.
It's not an act. It's who I need to be. A place where I can get high and not have to think about how much it hurts. And maybe if I can ruin myself enough in the process, if I end up broken, I won't be his favorite toy anymore. And maybe he'll let me go.
With the prior context in mind, now listen to this little excerpt of the song and tell me that it's not victim blaming.
You're a loser, baby, a loser, goddamn baby. You're a fucked up little whiny bitch. You're a power bottom at rock bottom, but you got company.
This supposed to make me feel better?
This does not work at all. This song does not work. It is incredibly tone deaf, horribly written. The idea does not come across at all.
There was a time I thought that no one could relate to the gruesome ways in which I'm damaged.
I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the footage, right? And not even 5 minutes before they started this conversation, Angel just snorted up a shit ton of what I can assume is cocaine. So wouldn't he be high as hell right now? I have never been on any sort of drug, but I feel like he should be under certain effects right now. We do not know Husk right now. We don't understand the extent of the control Alistair has over him. Even by the end of the season, we still don't know. This guy is pretty much a stranger. All we know is that he's made deals with Alistair, and I'm assuming he lost a bunch of money and ended up selling his soul to, like, help him out or something. Though even when he's in his servitude to Alistair, he's pretty free to do whatever he wants. Like, he's not being called back to do bartending, while Angel is constantly being called away by Valentino to be abused. He is constantly being abused. He is coping with it by falling into addiction and self-harm. In Husk's own words, it is self-destructive behavior.
Really? Because I just saw someone self-destructing.
If I end up broken, I won't be his favorite toy anymore.
You're a loser, baby.
And maybe he'll let me go.
A loser, goddamn baby.
When I say come, you say
yes, Valentino.
When I say you are fucking 20 guys before lunch, you say
yes, Valentino.
Loser! You're a loser! Are you feeling sorry for yourself? Well, you should be, because you are dirt!
How else am I supposed to interpret this if not victim blaming?
It's a song that's supposedly about making the best of what you've got, taking responsibility for your own happiness, right? But what responsibility can Angel Dust take if he's in this literal slave contract with Valentino?
You know she can't do anything. I own you, or have you forgotten that?
It's not like he's changing a bad habit. He's literally supernaturally bound to this horrible abusive relationships. In real life, it's already difficult to get out of abusive relationships, but in this situation, his soul is quite literally owned by Valentino. Husk singing about taking hold of Angel's happiness has just led Angel to being accepting and numb to the abuse, as we see here.
You know, Val, he's into this waterboarding shit now. I don't know, it's a kink.
What happened to you?
It's who happened to me. And the answer is everyone. Twice. Val had me working 16 hours straight on a fucking whim.
Wasn't one of Valentino's threats in a similar light?
When I say you are fucking 20 guys before lunch, you say...
Loser!
It's one thing if the only thing stopping Angel from him being happy was himself. Say he's not eating healthy, he's not getting fresh air, and it's leading to him being depressed or something. These would be things within his control that he could change. It is entirely another thing when he's in a abusive relationship that he is contractually bound to. As well-meaning as the intent is of you're not alone, finding your own happiness and whatnot, the surrounding context of Angel's enslavement and abuse and these later actions shows a completely botched execution. It turns the song from this positive message to a Husk telling Angel to be fine and comfortable with the abuse, and we see those consequences.
We're both losers, baby, we're losers. It's okay to be a
coked up dick sucking hoe?
Baby, that's fine by me.
I don't know, it's a kink.
Baby, that's fine by me.
Loser!
Intent is one thing, execution is another. Contrasting these goofy, lighthearted musical scorings, characters squeaking when they're hugged, Charlie's clumsiness leading to this funny little scene with her wrecking up the studio. Contrast that with such a heavy topic about sexual abuse and self-harm. Absolutely ruins whatever message is trying to be presented. You need to know what you're doing when you write heavy topics like sexual abuse or assault or addiction. You need experience with writing. If you don't have that experience just yet and you want to get that experience, you need to talk to people to get it right. You need to do your research, and if you can't handle these heavy topics with the care they deserve, do not do it. No matter how good your intentions are, if you're making like a professional show, you need to know what you're doing. This episode 4, reminds me of fanfiction, but I'll get back to that later. Just keep that idea in mind. I've really been struggling to complete this video because the 4th episode, Masquerade, has layers upon layers of why it's terrible. It is quite possibly the worst episode of the show. It's trying to bring light to serious issues, yet through its flippant characterization, these flashy and sensationalized visuals, and writing that's either childish or overly edgy, it fails to understand why these issues are so serious. And through these pleasant character designs and animation, and well-produced and catchy songs, the average person is dazzled by these elements, and they forgive these glaring issues because of it. In regards to Angel as a character, people who get into doing pornography and prostitution do not always get into it consensually. It's a very complex issue. People who get caught up in drug addiction may have turned to drugs as a way to dull their pain. And people who are in abusive relationships, they don't willingly throw themselves into that boiling pot of water. It's a gradual thing. This whole notion of Angel being a loser for these things rubs me the wrong way so hard. Especially considering his breakdown and how it seems like he's at a point of acceptance in the 6th episode, rather than having a different outlook on the situation. Yeah, he's confronting Valentino on Nifty's behalf, but nothing about his situation with Valentino has changed.
Fuck off, Val. I may have to put up with your bullshit, but you ain't fucking with any of my friends.
You forget who you're talking to? I own you, bitch.
Yeah, you do. In the studio. And you can do anything you want to me there. Just like our deal says. But out here, I get to do what I want. So once again, fuck off.
Enjoy the rest of your night, bitch. Because I'm going to enjoy making you pay for it tomorrow.
What am I supposed to get out of this, if not a reiteration of his terrible situation? This is the funny sex and violence show about furries in hell, I know. And they're in hell, so it's okay that everyone's cruel and horrible and irredeemable, including our main characters, and I'm the one who has no media literacy whatsoever. Because if I have a problem with this, it's on me. Because it's actually a perfectly made show that does everything it sets out to do flawlessly. Right? I just realized, why is Charlie like okay with Alistair just like eating and killing these guys, but she's not okay with the genocide? He's killing demons. Loser baby is one thing. And as someone who personally believes that self-harm, addiction, and being a victim of abuse aren't loser behaviors, yeah, I'm coming at this with my own mindset, but different people may think that they're a loser for getting into this situation. Okay. Maybe I'm coming at this mindset wrong. But the deeper issues also lie into the fact that all of this seems so drawn out. There's no change. Angel Dust starts out with treating his job like a back-breaking office job. We see that it's much more horrible than expected, and we see that he is a slave to his master and cannot leave no matter what. Let me reiterate that nothing he's doing is something that he cannot say no to. Like, if you say to me, he signed the contract, he can't say no, like, this is part of the contract, that, oh, he's smiling, this is consensual, whatever. If you cannot say no, it's not consensual when you say yes. So, back on track. He's back to the same attitude after that. We don't see Valentino again in any significant manner. We don't see Angel trying to reverse his coping mechanisms. We don't really see a change in his character. He's still kind of this, like, flirt bag. I don't know. What kind of a word is flirt bag? We're back to treating everything like a kid's show that just so happens to have cursing in it. What did Masquerade even do as an episode? Angel didn't change as a character. Everything Husk did in this episode and everything revealed about him is something we either already know or gets reiterated to us later on. Charlie doesn't learn to toughen up and figure out that in certain cases using her authority is necessary. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot, she doesn't want to she doesn't want to say no to Valentino. She's like, it's too mean. I totally forgot about that. This episode serves nothing to the plot. It doesn't treat the subject matter what the carrot deserves, and instead it treats sexual abuse like a spectacle, something flashy, sexy, forbidden, and stimulating. Angel's abuse is downright fetishized. And the fact that Valentino and the rest of the V's are lesser tier enemies than the Angels, yet aren't dealt with in this season, makes me think that this was done so Angel's abuse could be prolonged. There's more opportunity for more music videos of Angel Dust in bondage gear and in chains, more screenshots and GIFs for fans to spread around, more opportunity to misunderstand the very subject matter that this show is terribly handling. I really don't think that this episode was made in good intentions. It feels entirely disconnected from everything else in the show. If you remove Masquerade, nothing changes. You can infer that Valentino is bad to Angel in the studio when we see him again in the 6th episode. You get Husk's soul being owned by Alistair in the next episode. Nothing is lost in the narrative if Masquerade is nixed. It really is the sensationalization that gets me. The immense gravity of this situation is lost whenever there's a music video. When Valentino is reminding Angel of the contract in the changing room, and Angel's having a breakdown in front of Husk, I felt uncomfortable, but in a good way. It made me feel like I was in Angel's place. It was downright horrific, set the mood, almost perfectly and drilled into me how bad Angel's situation is. And then for these musical numbers to come right after it, I feel like I'm being played for a joke. Like, Poison is this catchy pop song, and Loser Baby is like a catchy, I don't freaking know what genre it is. They're songs that are meant to be played over and over on Spotify and enjoyed by the fans. Like, is it any surprise that these are both the most popular songs? None of the other songs in the show are part of scenarios that are as intense or as harrowing as Angel's abuse. The closest thing is the whole, like, demonic genocide thing, but none of that is treated with the same severity, even though it's literally genocide. It's very weird how genocide is not really taken seriously. Like, we don't see scenes of a demon in the midst of battle watching their loved ones get slaughtered with quiet, dramatic string instrumentals. We don't have an entire episode dedicated to a demon who survived the extermination and is living with the PTSD of it all, drinking and doing drugs to cope. Instead, we get like that freaking clown kid and like a flashback of Vaggie killing some nameless chump. It's very disconnected from the audience and from the characters, really. The genocide isn't really treated seriously, so songs like Hell is Forever and You Didn't Know don't really undercut the severity of the genocide, because there was no serious aspect to the genocide in the first place. Yet, it happens here with Angel Dust's abuse. You have these really intense and horrific scenes, and then these fun and flashy songs right after it. It's tonal whiplash. The songs aren't serving the tone beforehand, they're actively chipping away at it and ruining it. I really wonder if Valentino and the V's weren't these season's threats just because they could have more poisons and more loser babies. More of the most popular songs alongside these bright and flashy visuals and catchy tunes that get people humming the songs long after the episode has ended. I got Loser Baby stuck in my head anytime after I was done editing parts of this video. I would like think about it in the shower and I'm just like, man, the song's so catchy, but I hate the context in which it was in. Even though Valentino is a chump of a threat compared to the literal armies of heaven, he can't be defeated yet. He still has to be around to abuse Angel and to throw him into the pits of despair so Angel can sing about it again and fans can get their sexy Angel Dust bondage scenes, because Angel Dust is one of the, if not the most popular characters, and like, if you want to see your sexy spider boy in the porn studio and doing a bunch of sex, you can't have him not be under his porn master anymore. You cannot have these dark and serious moments alongside your catchiest and most fun songs in the album and expect it to be effective as a serious narrative. Yeah, you're gonna smokescreen a bunch of people into thinking that it's good because the songs got an emotional reaction out of them, but when you look past all the smoke, you see the absolute trash fire that's causing it. This show never does any quiet moments. It doesn't leave us sitting with this heavy feeling for a while. I was talking about it with a friend last night. I actually showed her this script. I'm going off script now, can you tell? I'm just gonna read what I wrote to her. The show being a musical with 2 songs per episode is a detriment to this serious story. It's complete tonal whiplash and almost makes fun of the subject matter they're dealing with. It doesn't let us fully take in the emotions. Why not have like a quiet scene after Angel opens up to Husk? The two are sitting in silence. Husk explains his backstory, and they both just sit quietly for a bit until one of them pipes up. Maybe Husk says, "We may not have the same person tugging on our leashes, but I know how it feels to be bound by another person. You don't have to deal with this in silence." Have a serious heart-to-heart between them. Maybe have Angel's drug abuse be related to Husk's alcoholism. They've both turned to addiction due to their abuse. Like, you can have a little conversation between them. Angel could say, Val tells me I'm a loser for being an addict. Can't deal with life without powdering my nose, you know? I'm pathetic. I really am a loser. And Husk responds with, if you're a loser, I'm right beside you. So much of a loser that nothing gets me drunk anymore. How about that? And Angel would say, kinda lonely being a loser, isn't it? And Husk says, doesn't have to be. The loser narrative is a self-deprecating line that's coming from Angel. He realizes it from within. Like, we could have the whole you don't have to be alone thing between Angel and Husk, and like, oh yeah, well, I'm a loser in this situation, how about that? Kind of defeatist mindset, while also just taking the time to acknowledge how serious it is. That really is the deepest problem. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's just flashy, glittery, and sensational. I think that's why everyone gives it so much praise. Like, they're just distracted by the smoke and mirrors.
It's sprinting to the finish line. Let's just get this fucking over with!
Maybe it's because I watched the season all in one go, but my god, did this show not take its time. Did I explain that I watched, like, the whole show in one session with 2 of my friends? I watched the whole show with 2 of my friends. One of them, she had seen all but episode 8. The other, he was, like, such a big fan of the idea, but he hadn't seen the show, so we all watched it together. This show did not take its time. It went by so fast. It felt like 3 seasons worth of stuff crammed into 8 episodes. And you may say, hey, they didn't know if they'd get a second season. There are so many ideas. Of course this season will be fast and things will feel bloated and unexplored. And to that I say, if you can't sufficiently tell these stories in the allotted 8 episodes you're given and adequately flesh them out, don't. It's better to have a phenomenal first season that leaves plot threads hanging than an ongoing series that's a mess from the start. Hazbin tries to touch on so many topics. Charlie's redemption of sinners, the Angel extermination of sinners, Angel Dust and his servitude to Valentino, and Angel Dust's redemption, Sir Pentious' redemption, the V's in general, Vox's rivalry with Alistair trying to pull the strings, Carmilla in general, and more that I'm definitely forgetting. Some of these are smaller topics than others, and some of these feel like endgame ideas, yeah. But having all of these with such a big cast and an overarching story in 8 episodes leads to none of the characters being properly explored, none of these ideas being properly explored. By the last episode, everyone's chilling and drinking with each other, enjoying possibly one last night together. This does not feel earned at all. I don't feel any friendship between these characters because we barely got any chance at seeing them connect. Charlie and Vaggie, our supposed main couple, do not feel like a couple. If anything, Vaggie feels like an older sister or like a babysitter to Charlie. The show is trying to cram in so many characters, plots, and I would say backstories, but there's actually like no backstory except like Vaggie, I guess. It's done in such a short amount of time that leads to really cheap and laughable characterization whenever they try to do characterization. Oh, why is Carmilla so cutthroat? She's defending her daughters, who she cares about. But, who even are her daughters? Why should we care whether they live or die? What are their names? I don't remember their names. Giving a character a family that's in danger is an artificial and absolutely substanceless way to make us care. YMS has this great bit from his World War Z video that perfectly demonstrates this idea.
Turns out, all we had to do was place a dainty, slimmer rock next to it with 1 or 2 pebbles by its side. The result was outstanding. They brought the sledgehammer out after about like 30 seconds and they went hysterical. This one woman, she started crying, she said, oh, please don't kill him, he's got a family. And then we smashed it. It was fantastic.
So, Vaggie used to be an angel, huh? How did she fall? Oh, she spared a child from execution? Kids can go to hell?
There is only one thing worse than a rapist. Boom. A child.
Having her spare a child is the cheapest way to elicit emotion. She's meant to kill a child, and she says, no, I don't want to kill a kid. It is a laughable way to show how comically evil the angels are. They're mutilating one of their own and casting her out for not killing a kid. Why not have Lute kick a puppy while she's at it? I laughed my ass off when I saw the scene because of like how fast the pacing is and how cliche it is. This is like a kid in hell, right? What did this kid do to end up in hell? What if this kid just had bad vibes? Maybe he deserved it. So are we going to touch on the idea of what qualifies as a sin? Are we going to know what led to each of these sinners being in hell? Especially that kid? What do you do? Oh no, we're not getting why they're in hell? Then why should I care? Why should I care about our main characters being in hell?
Or their recovery and their redemption.
What are they redeeming? See, I'd like go into this big rant about how the show never details what qualifies as sin and how Angel Dust's characterization leads to this implication that he's in hell for being gay and promiscuous, even though outside sources say he's not in hell for being gay, but like you shouldn't have to read the wiki to understand the show. But I'm gonna skip over that because this show skips over so much as well. I was watching Smiling Friends yesterday, and I was watching the 8th episode where Charlie dies and goes to hell, and that show actually critiqued sin and made us question what qualifies as a sin more and better than Hazbin Hotel ever does, and it's just a one-off gag.
Oh, my beautiful grandson!
Grandma, what are you doing here?
Oh, I cursed and said, damn, in 1958 when I saw your grandfather being shot in the head by that rotten burglar.
That seems a little bit unreasonable. I don't think you should be in hell for that.
He's surprised, which implies that she was a decent person in life. She explains, oh, I cursed once in response to my husband's head getting blown off. And Charlie says, oh no, that's not fair. Why is this show better at the premise of Hazbin Hotel than Hazbin Hotel is? And also both main characters are named Charlie, that's funny. I still don't know so much. There are so many topics that aren't given the explanations or groundwork that they should. What was Lucifer's dream that the other angels cast him out for? What is an overlord? What makes them so special? And what can strip them of that role? What makes Alistair, the V's, Carmilla, Zestial, and Rosie so powerful and important? Do they have special demon magic? Is it their influence on the populace? We don't see the extent of their influence beyond, like, I guess Rosie being a popular member of Cannibal Town, and the V's are business owners, I guess, but that's like, they're business owners. That's anyone could do that, I guess. If I start a hot dog stand in hell and become a business owner, does that make me an overlord? What qualifies as sin? What are our protagonist sins, and what are they trying to redeem? Are Sarah and Emily the highest powers? If these angels don't know how to get into heaven, who determines it, or what determines it? Is there a God in this universe? Why is St. Peter here? There must be Jesus if St. Peter is here, because in the Bible, Jesus gave St. Peter his name. Also, why is St. Peter so blindingly white? What do Charlie and Vaggie even see in each other?
They make a cute couple, huh?
They certainly are standing next to each other.
Or like Angel and Husk? Why does Charlie want to do this in the first place? Why does she care about sinners so much?
Sex.
Were we supposed to figure out through Sir Pentius's death how sinners get into heaven? Do you just need to be killed by an angel, defend someone else? Most importantly, what was his sin that he even redeemed? Or can you go into heaven without redeeming what got you into hell? I don't know. Like, there's so much. There's so many other questions that I definitely forgot. I should have taken notes while I was watching the show, maybe. The show does not know how to balance itself. Each episode has 2 songs in it that half the time are exposition. During Carmilla's second song, my friend that had seen the episode before said, "Are you two ready for the exposition song?" And yeah, it really was an exposition song. That is a tongue twister. Songs in Hazbin Hotel are used to shoddily explain things and to like flip a switch in the personalities of the characters. The transitions to the songs are also super jarring and not built up.
Hello. I clean.
All right then. Looks like you could use
Daddy's throwing reviews on Yelp.
Why are we going so fucking bad?
Speaking of bad pacing, the second episode focuses so much on Vox and his rivalry with Alistair, yet it's also the episode that Serpentius comes to the hotel, and yeah, it's on Vox's orders, but we barely know who either of them are at this point. Oh, Vox is just a rival with Alistair, and he spends the rest of the episode being bitchy and catty with Valentino. It's just haha, funny, but it's substanceless.
They don't do anything with this throughout the whole season. They don't even interact in the season, so why'd you establish this?
Serpentius, he sets up camera for Vox, he gets caught, and then he and Charlie sing a song, and oh, Serpentius is on their side now. The switch was flipped. And you would think that because of this sudden flip in character that Serpentius was being deceiving. He's only singing with Charlie to get back on her good side, right? He's gonna be a double agent? This is too quick of a heel turn to be genuine. No, he actually did have a change of heart and is on their side now.
He receives no consequence for ditching Vox.
This is all resolved in a half an episode. The overbloated nature of the show is so obvious when you look at the new characters introduced over time. Namely, Velvet, Mimsy, and Cherry Bomb. Velvet's only action is showing off the decapitated angel head in front of the other overlords. She does nothing else. We barely get her personality beyond being this catty, phone-obsessed millennial. Mimsy bursts in during Alistair and Lucifer's song just to mess everything up for Charlie, and then she dips. I don't even remember if she was in the final battle. Cherry Bomb busts in on the day that Charlie has to show Angel Dust Recovery to heaven, and she drags him out to a bar just in time for the angels to see him relapsing. How convenient. Which, again, is another common kids cartoon trope.
Let's see what these gals do after their first appearance.
Velvet does nothing else throughout the show. Mimsy is just gone. And Cherry helps defend the hotel for whatever reason, but her only purpose is now being part of the joke of, oh, she's out of Serpentius' league and he's still trying to hit on her. Laugh at this loser.
So beyond what they initially do, they pretty much do nothing, and what they could have done could have been accomplished by any previously established character. Though we would have lost their characters, it would have brought more development to other characters that are sorely unexplored.
There is so much stuff packed in such little time, and as a result, everything moves at this breakneck speed without giving things the time they need to flourish.
These characters, they barely feel like characters at this point. They're one-dimensional and underdeveloped, even down to our main cast.
You may tell me, Vi, there's a lot of stuff that's explored in the podcast or in the comics or some other outside material. That's terrible storytelling. We clown on Star Wars for doing that with Palpatine coming back in Fortnite for The Rise of Skywalker.
And that was just one point. To expect us to understand a character's entire personality, the whole cast of characters' entire personalities, before going into the show,
you are isolating anyone who's not a super fan from the very beginning. Exposition, world building, major events that are explained in outside media is terrible storytelling. I shouldn't have to watch a podcast to know who a character is. This is a television show. You need to show this to me.
Hazbin doesn't just sprint to the finish line by dumping a bunch of different stories and characters on us, but in how it fails to show a proper passage of time.
Chest fluff, everyone thinks of tits.
Hold that thought. I'll be right back.
Well, I
told you when you called me 5 months ago.
Supposedly, this whole season takes place across a 6-month period, but it feels like it took 8 days. 1 day per episode, almost. Each episode's plot takes place in a day or two, with no montages, no shots of the sky going from sunrise to sunset, no time to watch the characters go about their lives, unless it's moment to moment. If you're going to convince us that months have passed, there are ways to do that. Take Made in Abyss, for example. The first episode takes place over half a day, from early afternoon until the dawn of the next day,
and we see multiple passages of time. First, there's a montage of Riko, Nat, and Shiggy bringing Reg to the orphanage, and we see the sun start to set in this sequence. And it is set to Underground River, and it's so pretty, and I love it so much. Later in the episode, it's nighttime, and the cut from arriving at the orphanage to Reg waking up, the discussion that it's been a few hours, and the noticeable night sky shows a good passage of time. A little bit later, Riko and Reg are walking up a slope at blue hour, and dawn hits. And a full day has passed, and we get it set to one of the most beautiful songs in the soundtrack, Hanazeve Cardina. It's so pretty, and I love it, and this whole scene carries out the end of the episode, and it's just so beautiful. And it makes me cry, and it sets the tone for adventure, and it's such a good opening episode. The next episode includes another montage, it's of their orphanage life. It has day-to-day ongoings set to Kevin Penkin's perfect musical score. We see the two at school, doing laundry, asleep, and Reg eventually says, and we're able to see this change in little snippets. And later on in the Seeker Camp arc, there's a montage of them in a survival camp for 10 days. Well, you get the picture. By the 8th episode, we feel a tangible passage of time from the first episode, and montages and a change in the day-night cycle helped. Oh, but in Hazbin, there's no daylight, you may say. Hell is in this perpetual twilight. You can still do a montage without showing day-night cycles. Monkey Wrench is an indie animated series that I have fallen in love with. It has 3 episodes so far, and it is so much fun, and I want to talk about it eventually, but for context, it's a show about these 2 mercenaries in space, and you can't really show a day-night cycle on a spaceship. Yet, in the first episode, there's a 6-day montage.
Hey, I welcome anything that could liven up this 6-day-long babysit, amigo. Come here, you stupid...
This is gonna be a fun couple of days. Time to buckle up.
It does feel like it takes a good chunk of time. And this montage shows the characters wordlessly going about various tasks, and it shows how the main character is slowly losing his mind over his contractor's antics. There are different instances of events happening that imply these different mini-adventures that the characters get into. And with just that montage and the knowledge that their trip will take 6 days, you can feel the passage of time, and you get a fun sequence alongside it. Oh, you want to show longer periods of time? Futurama has a 1,000-year time skip in the first episode, and we see it all from a window. There are days and nights zipping by with these civilizations being built and destroyed, and it's a very drastic example, but with the right visual cues, you can make your story feel like time has progressed even while off screen. And you do this by showing snippets on screen. Hazbin Hotel has only 1 instance of a montage, and it's the last song of the show where these characters are rebuilding the hotel. Yet this all feels like it's being done in one night. We don't see any change in the sky because I guess hell is permanently night or twilight or something. All of these shots are close-ups. There's nothing like a wider shot where everyone's sped up or something to imply that this is taking a while. Hazbin has 2 songs per episode, and instead of showing us that time has passed, it wastes time. Maybe Poison was trying to show how prolonged Angel's abuse was, but the framing and scenes don't show a linear narrative, but rather it is a music video of softcore rape porn. It is not about the passage of time, it is about getting titillated by this allegedly sexy spider twink singing about his abuse. It is not an effective montage. Especially because if you cut Poison out of the episode, the next scene where Angel stumbles into the hotel and asks Husk for a drink is bridged just fine from the scene before. If you cut out Poison, it feels like, oh yeah, there was a little time off screen, but that's it. There was ample opportunity for some of these songs to be played over montages rather than characters singing to each other. And I know that's what happens with musicals. This is supposedly a mega musical show. But is having every single song be like this more important than the very pacing of the show? This lack of proper pacing is partially why these characters are underdeveloped and why they don't feel like friends. Just 1 or 2 montages peppered in would have remedied this. If you want to have songs in your show where it's 2 characters singing to each other, you can do that. There's just so much fat in this show that needed to be trimmed and could have been replaced with something more substantial. There's a phrase in writing called kill your darlings. Essentially, it means you need to cut out anything that isn't serving your overall story, even if you may love them. It includes characters, scenes, storylines, all of that. This applies to professional stories or to like a hobbyist tale, all the way down to fanfiction. Yet, I would say it's pretty excusable in fanfiction because, fanfictions are made of passion and are primarily for the enjoyment of the writer. You get to indulge. I have been active in writing fanfiction ever since I was in elementary school, and I've noticed a lot of consistent themes that pop up in fanfiction. The most relevant one to our discussion is not killing your darlings, and also how inexperienced and young writers will insert graphic material such as excessive violence, physical and sexual abuse, and a sailor's worth of cursing in an intent to make the writing seem more mature and adult.
This is better than sex!
Cringe.
It's talking about a mature topic and using language that wouldn't be shown on a kid's show, so that must mean it's deep and sophisticated, right? I even fell into those traps, and I have purged those fanfictions because of how embarrassed I am. I thought that horrible things happening to characters meant I was this sophisticated writer. I was talking about things nobody else dared to talk about, and it's just edge and provocation for the sake of it. However, when you're a professional writer making a show that's going on Amazon Prime and backed by A24, you really don't have an excuse of being an amateur. You can't say, oh, I'm young and inexperienced, I'm just doing this for fun and I don't know better. This is just my little passion project on the internet. What happens to Angel in episode 4 is absolutely excessive and reeks of this notion. There's a music video where half of it is him dancing and being like, oh, look at me, I'm so sexy. Why did I say it like that? And half of it is being abused by Valentino. It is completely sensationalized, in my opinion. To me, it feels just like a teenager writing fanfiction and thinking they're mature because they're writing about abuse, but they don't know how to handle it, and it ends up being excessive and tone deaf. Episode 4 also has other fanfic moments. This bickering between Angel and Husk being the one who's blamed when Angel storms off after Angel sexually harasses Husk. This botched depiction of a serious issue. Suddenly, Angel and Husk are kind of a thing now because that's the fanfic author's one true pairing, and they had to get the two of them together. It feels so disjointed. I can't remember a significant time in the show before that episode when Angel and Husk interacted, or when Husk interacted with anyone to know about their personal flaws to call them out. The theoretical fanfic author in the scenario is expecting you to have seen a show where these characters are already built up. Episode 5 is another fanfic-y episode. It's Lucifer. He's appearing for this episode, and he looks like every other male twink in the show. It's Lucifer. He's appearing for this fic. And the writer of the fanfic doesn't like Charlie and Alistair as a couple, so they're going to try to force in this whole "you're the daughter I've never had" shtick, with Alistair trying to take up this fatherly role to Charlie. It's like a common fanfic thing, you don't like this ship? Write it as a found family thing, and get mad at the people who see the ship as romantic, and claim they're into incest, and try to get them doxxed. So you can totally have Alistair do this fake dad role shtick with Charlie because it's obvious he doesn't see her as a daughter and he's trying to get under Lucifer's skin.
I'm truly honored that we built such a bond. You're like the child that I wish that I had.
What?
However, I cannot remember any significant scene between Alistair and Charlie. I can't remember any instance of him feigning being fatherly to her to justify her believing he sees her as a daughter. So why does she believe in him? Is she stupid? Put it down here.
This is fucking Me Maker.
I mean, because she must be, because she sees Valentino horrifically abuse Angel and is like, oh, it's so mean to hurt someone, so I'm not gonna hurt him. Like, girl, you are the princess of hell. Just make like a royal decree that Angel is no longer in Valentino's servitude. Man, whatever happened to Pilot Charlie? She fist fought that reporter lady on live TV.
She should have killed that dipshit.
And then, of course, Mimsy bursts in to mess everything up. A random one-off character who's annoying, not at all established, and is just there to throw a wrench into the plans. How convenient. And then she dips for the rest of the show. She only appeared just for this fanfic. I just want to point out that how Mimsy is the only fat character in her whole thing is being loud, annoying, and ruining everything. And then all the good characters are tall and thin and pretty. Like, Cherry's another character who comes in and ruins everything, but she gets to be in the final battle and help out. Why can't Mimsy help out? Is it because Mimsy's fat and Cherry's thin? Considering all the explanations we got about sin, why the characters are in hell, what can and can't be redeemed, I have some questions. Does Charlie have exceptions to who she lets into the hotel? Will she turn away a rapist, or does she think they can be redeemed if they repent? Because she's obviously okay with murder and cannibalism because of how she associates with Alistair. Are some sins off limits? Would Charlie help Hitler redeem himself if he wanted to be redeemed? What is the limit? What does she consider to be moral and immoral? So at this part of the video, I had initially had a whole section of this review dedicated to how Hazbin Hotel tries to critique Christianity and Christian morals in this really ineffective, hypocritical, and like le Reddit atheist middle-aged tips fedora sort of way. But I'm not happy with that section, and this review is already super long. However, I had actually read this article on Medium by someone named Bobby Schroeder that addresses my specific criticisms on this topic in a way better way than I initially had written and recorded. I recommend reading that, as well as the rest of the article. It's really good, and I agree with pretty much all of it. Schroeder really nails how the show has this very conservative view of sex and of sin. So, I recommend reading that review instead of having me lose my mind for another 20 minutes. So sometimes I feel like I'm a bitter and cynical person and like I hate things unreasonably, but I promise there were things I enjoyed about the show. Namely, I think that the base characters of Charlie, Angel Dust, and Serpentius were fun. I loved Charlie's camp counselor energy. She's a delight in the right context. Angel Dust is the most fleshed out character, even if I think he's still half-baked. His breakdown to Husk was impactful, with him saying how he copes with being hurt by getting himself more hurt. This little scene before the song is very well done. Serpentius is the best character. He is an utter goober and a sweetheart. Everything around him just feels so bright and genuine, and I wanted to see more of him. Like when he was cuddling up in the egg voice, that was adorable. And him flirting with Cherry was cute. I would have loved to see more of that and a progression of that. He had such fun energy, and his death deserved some sort of respect. The singing voices, they're phenomenal. And even though I didn't care for any of the songs, the raw skill of the voice actors was very enjoyable. I remember being incredibly impressed by Lucifer and Adam singing the most. And I did laugh at certain things. Notably this bit where Nifty freezes up in front of the camera. It's really cute, and I like how they brought it back at the end. And I like photobombing Angel when like Charlie's in front of the camera. Like, that's always fun. Actually, the whole commercial was a lot of fun. I smiled when watching it. The animation was iffy at times. The drop shadows on each character were kind of distracting for me, but I understand having issues distinguishing foreground and background with such complex character designs. But the backgrounds, though, those were absolutely gorgeous, especially this countdown timer, the color palette of heaven. I just wish that there weren't so many cuts in the scenes, because I wanted to be able to appreciate the backgrounds. If I had fallen in love with this show, I would have definitely bought an art book to just look at the backgrounds. I have a big art book collection. I love seeing the concept art of the things that I enjoy. I guess I'll just rapid fire in a bunch of jokes that I also thought were funny.
Now,
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to not have sexual intercourse before marriage. I don't want to live without my minions. Nobody catch me. Damn it.
This is Vaggie. She's my girlfriend.
Oh my golly, you like girls. So do I. We have so much in common. You put her there, Maggie. Yeah. She's so pretty.
Lovely to meet you, sir.
Well, if it isn't my arch nemesis, have you come to meet your fate in battle, Cherry Bomb?
Apparently.
Oh, you and me are going out? Like, for fun? I didn't think this would ever happen. What do I do? What do I wear?
Yeah, that knife lady Camaro car fight killed one.
Wait, you knew about this?
Oh, yeah. I told Boss about it months ago.
He what?
What? They say insane shit all the time. How was I supposed to know this one was true?
Bank accounts are a scam created by the shadow government.
See?
Webster's dictionary defines redemption as...
Objection! Lame and unoriginal.
Sustained. No further dictionary references, please.
Right, okay. How about this? If you see an angel, stab it. Stab!
Hey!
Not him!
Nugget time!
And there's a cat somewhere, and you pet the cat.
How would I fix Hazbin Hotel? Can it be fixed? Well, yeah, of course. I think anything can be fixed. And where I would start by fixing this is by completely reworking the plot of the first season and expanding upon the ideas that were neglected. We focus on the hotel and the idea of rehabilitation from sin. And it's not just Angel Dust who is a patient, because let's be real, the hotel is kind of a rehab center, but we would also have Serpentious, Cherry Bomb, and Mimsy. These girls need to be established from the beginning, because they just pop into the story and we're expected to know them. Show Cherry and Angel's friendship, show Mimsy's connection with Alistair, and have Mimsy actually do positive things. I loved her energy. She deserved to be portrayed in a positive light. She deserved to do more. While we're focusing on redemption, Charlie won't have any contact with Heaven just yet. She's trying to get in contact with them. We won't have Adam or Lute just yet, but the first episode would show a flashback of the exterminations. I don't even think we had a flashback in the pilot. The pilot's semi-canon. If a pilot is going to be essential for viewing of the show, why do we have to watch it on YouTube? Just put it as the first episode of the show. Let's have the angels and exterminations be this looming threat that emphasizes their power and how intimidating they are. We'll see hints of their ruthlessness. And maybe in the background we can see Vaggie being uncomfortable whenever it's brought up, hinting at her connection with them. So, if not Adam and Lute, who would be the enemies? Well, the V's. They're kind of chumps at this point, let's be honest. Vox is this goofy, over-the-top guy. Valentino is more of a serious threat, and he's directly tied to Angel. Velvet is just underdeveloped. She could have just been replaced by any other character in the third episode, and, nothing would have changed. Having those three as a threat and fleshing them out would be sufficient enough stakes for a first season. Valentino is the main and most intimidating threat. Velvet could be a sort of informant who's easy to nab information or something, and so you gotta watch your words whenever you're out in public. I don't know. Vox is the comic relief of the three, and yet with his technology, he's potentially the most far-reaching of the three and is just held back by his temper. These three would also be more personal to the crew. Hell, maybe connect Vox and Velvet to some other characters. Vox could also have this beef with Mimsy since she's connected with Alistair. Velvet could have beef with Cherry, I guess. And Serpentious still wants to suck up to them, but he'll slowly realize that they're really shitty and he wants to be a better person. How about we have him want to protect the Egg Boys? Maybe the V's threaten the Egg Boys, and that's what makes him change allegiances. He realizes that these people that he used to idolize don't care about him or don't care about who he loves. The season would also focus on inter-crew relationships. Pair off the characters for personal adventures. Carmilla will still be here, and more importantly, have a bigger role. She could have connections with Serpentius. He's developing new technologies, she's developing new weapons, and they have this positive relationship. We can see them interact. Carmilla could be brought in early by Serpentius' recommendation. How about there's threats made on the hotel because other sinners believe it'll ruin their way of life or something? So Charlie needs defense, and ends up hiring Carmilla as a result. Her presence will lead to more interactions between her and the rest of the crew. She could then be personally connected to Vaggie from the start, as Vaggie would be Charlie's head of security. Also, Vaggie's name would be changed. Sure, it can be revealed later on that Adam named her Vaggie. God. But her name will be changed to Agatha, Maggie, Virginia, Regina, something like that. Something that doesn't give my one lesbian friend a heart attack. Vaggie, not Vaggie, whatever, she'll reject this derogatory name given to her by Adam and bestows a more respectful name upon herself. Maybe Charlie can give her a new name. In the flashback when they first meet, Charlie asks what Vaggie's name is, and maybe she says Vaggie, maybe she holds her tongue. It's very clear that she doesn't like her name. And Charlie gives her a more respectful one. I'm kind of a sucker for lovers giving nicknames or full-on names to each other in fiction. And it would be Charlie's first act of love to her future girlfriend. So the episodes would have the characters learning and developing. We'd understand why Angel, Cherry, Mimsy, and Serpentius are in hell. Give some hints as to what their life was like when on Earth. Whatever their sins are, they have to encounter a challenge that would make them indulge in their sin perhaps, but they would have to combat it to show their growth. Their ideals and progressions towards growth would be challenged. Similar to the bit in episode 6 where Angel proves Adam's qualifications to get into heaven. I liked the bit where Adam said stick it to the man is one of the ways to get into heaven. Okay, that's another thing I found funny. But yeah, Valentino, Vox, and Velvet would be constantly trying to thwart their recovery. And by the end of the first season, Charlie would finally have a meeting scheduled with Heaven, and Angel and Serpentius are considered the best candidates to get into Heaven. She wants to show their progress to the Angels, but there's an issue. Angel Dust is still under contract with Valentino. The climax of this season would involve Charlie breaking the contract and saving Angel from Valentino. Perhaps Serpentius and Carmilla would both be involved. They provide weapons to set a siege on the porn studio, perhaps. Valentino won't be killed. He could forfeit defeat, which opens him up to becoming a stronger and more intimidating enemy in time. The season would then end on a hint of the Angels. Silhouettes of Sarah and Emily going over a proposal letter sent by Charlie. Adam is in the room and he's scoffing at the idea, but Emily's excited. She sees the potential in it. And Sarah is unsure. We get a hint of the Angels and the idea of a bigger threat. And this is a more sophisticated threat, but also potential allies in Emily especially, as well as Sarah. Now, there are some holes in this rewrite. I didn't mention Alistair, Husk, or Nifty at all, because I don't, know what would happen with them, but it's something, it's an idea. We would get a story that sufficiently explores this tight-knit cast of characters and establishes their interpersonal relationships. Having the Angels be a big bad threat right away blows the show's load way too quickly. You need to build up to that level of a threat. It's like power creep. I don't know. I came up with these ideas on my commute home from school, but it's something at the very least. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up right now, or it'll just go on forever. I've been recording for an hour. When I first watched the pilot, I was not impressed. I thought the swearing was absolutely excessive, and everything was this eye-bleeding shade of red. I'm so glad that they learned different colors exist for the main show. I thought Charlie was cute, though. I just didn't get attached to the pilot. Yet, so many people did. So many people were touched by these ideas presented in the pilot, that within people that are cast out of society and deemed sinful, they still deserve love. Within those who are flawed and troubled, they still have an opportunity to grow and change and be loved. That's why so many LGBT people got attached to the show's idea. Besides, the character designs and characters being said to be X, Y, and Z sexualities. A friend of mine who came up with his own alternate universe about a human working for the hotel in hopes of his own redemption, that friend had told me that he realized he was bisexual and heavily attracted to men after seeing angel dust for the first time. Like, this show helped someone realize who he loved. Or sexuality, I guess. People resonated with this show, and they had hopes for it. I've seen some amazing fan interpretations out there. Looking back on it, deep down, I wanted the show to be good. I really love the idea of a demon trying to improve the lives of sinners and help them work out their problems, even if the pilot didn't impress me and I ended up thinking it was a bad pilot. I thought that I would feel vindicated when watching the show, and that I'd get to say I was right all along, it was going to be shit and nobody listened to me, look at me. But after watching the show, I just feel sad and disappointed. It could have been great. I was upset because the thought-provoking ideas and these interesting ideas for characters were pushed aside for cheap and shallow shock content and juvenile writing, and ultimately a plot that just tries to do everything at once and nothing's effective. If you want to make a show that's using religious aesthetics as a backdrop, about demons who kiss each other and kill each other and go do the nasty, I guess, you can do that. I personally believe that people are free to write whatever stories they want. Fiction is a playground, characters aren't real people, so nobody's getting hurt when you hurt a fictional character. People do not deserve to be harassed, doxxed, sent death threats, be assaulted over art. That's absolutely disgusting. You deserve to make anything in your art, and you can write anything. However, that doesn't mean people can't critique you. Critique is another thing. And just because you're free to write whatever you'd like doesn't mean you're exempt from fair and honest criticism, which is what I'm attempting to do, especially if it's a professional work. Fan works, hobby works, all that stuff is one thing, but a professional show backed by big studios is another. You can write everything, yes, but if you're making a professional work, you should think through your writing. You should probably have another set of eyes on your work so it can be the best that it can be. And people are still free to dislike your work and to critique them. Critique and second opinions are what helps someone grow as an artist. Someone pointing out where the strengths are and where improvement needs to be made. If you're only praised and you reject all notes of your flaws, you will not grow as an artist. In fact, you will only dig yourself deeper into these flaws. So, yeah, I was disappointed by the show, and I guess it's more easy for me to just focus on the negatives. I don't know what I would say for the positives because the negatives piled up so much. Also, I really didn't like the character designs. Everyone has the same tall and lanky silhouettes. There's so many pinstripe suits. Everyone looks the same. These designs that are overly complicated and yet say so little about the characters. I really hate Husk and Carmilla's designs the most, and I think it would be fun to do redesigns. If, I don't know, at least 5 people want me to redesign them, I'll do a video on that. Maybe it would be fun. But only if people want to see my interpretations. Comment on who you would want to see my take on. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye-bye. Okay, this is stupid, but in the last episode, Fox is watching Alistair get the shit kicked out of him by Adam, right? There's a stupid joke that legitimately made me want to bash my head into a wall. This joke doesn't work, and it makes me so angry because Castlevania did it way better.
Oh my god. That is better than sex.
Okay, so it's the same thing, right? No, the joke, it continues. The bit isn't that Trevor said, oh yeah, I love beer more than sex. Sex and alcoholism are funny. The bit is that he pretty much insulted his lover and said he preferred beer over her, and that she was upset, denied him of the thing he accidentally insulted her over, and the punchline is him watching as this like slushy beer falls onto the ground. The joke is on Trevor and his reaction. It doesn't work with Vox because the bit is just, lol, sex, I like to have sex and watch people get hurt. Sex is funny, guys. This is stupid. I'm done. Bye.